Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing today? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is Three Buck Theater, and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker came out this week, and it's been met with, to be fair, mixed reviews, at least on a Metacritic or Rotten Tomatoes scale. A lot of people are kind of softer on this movie to an extent, but I have talked to more and more and more people that have been messaging me both publicly and privately to tell me that they have not only seen this movie once, but twice, and in many cases going to see it even a third time by taking different family and different friends to go with them. So when I was hearing that information, I was a little bit shocked at the overall box office return that is estimated to come in from this weekend. Because according to Deadline here, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker awakens with 198 million overseas, 374 million global, whereas Jumanji then crossed over the $300 million worldwide mark. And Jumanji, that's the interesting one. As a real quick side note, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle opened a week after The Last Jedi and went on to go do nearly $1 billion. This movie opened a week before The Last Jedi, and it's not going to crack $1 billion. I think it's actually going to turn in less money overall than that, because The Last Jedi had so terrible word of mouth. It lost its legs after the fact, and Jumanji was able to come on in and scoop it up. When it comes to Skywalker, there really isn't any competition for the rest of the year outside of maybe 1917, which I am like dying to see that movie. Holy crap. I cannot wait to dive into that film. But this is what Deadline is saying, and I think they're a pretty solid source. They say Disney Lucasfilm Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker has come in below industry projections and predecessor Star Wars: The Last Jedi in its offshore bow. The international box office totaled this debut weekend with 198 million in 52 material markets. That's about 16% less than The Last Jedi at today's rates, and lower than the 250 million many were seeing pre-launch. The global opening is 373.5 million, with plenty of lucrative holiday play ahead. There's little reason to believe Episode 9 won't follow in its recent predecessor's footsteps and hit the 1 billion global mark down the line. And that, look, for the first, like, for the idea there is that's true. So many people over the span of the last couple weeks have been telling me there's no way that this movie is going to gross $1 billion. There's no way. No. This is going to be Disney's seventh billion-dollar movie in 2017. 2019, if I could think of the year, right? It's going to be their $7th billion-dollar movie. You can't really F with the House of Mouse on this kind of stuff. They know how to push the marketing machine. And believe me, when it comes to Star Wars, they have absolutely pushed the marketing machine. But here's my theory on it. Here's my prediction, so to speak. I had thought it was going to get closer to $200 million this weekend, and I thought that the critical score on Rotten Tomatoes was going to at least cross over to the 60% mark. And on that, both counts, I'm wrong. I could admit that. So take what I'm saying right now with an absolute grain of salt. And I don't know if it's going to happen, but here's kind of what I'm predicting. I'm not predicting a massive drop off from week 2 that a lot of people are going to be predicting. And I say that because of, well, the factors where we find ourselves right now. Today is December 22nd, 2019. The movie opened on December 20th. You could go to the preview screenings on December 19th, but either way, it opened wide on the 20th, and that's only just a few days before Christmas. Star Wars: The Force Awakens opened December 17th, a solid 8 days before Christmas back in 2015. The Last Jedi opened on December 15th, a solid 10 days before Christmas, giving people more time to see the movie as well as get their shopping done. And this is the crunch time leading into the holiday week. Christmas is just 3 days away. People are busy. They are very, very, very busy right now, and getting to the theaters is not going to be as easy for them as they want. But because Christmas is midweek and people are going to probably be taking a lot of the rest of the week off, you're going to see a massive increase in box office from this movie on probably Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I would assume potentially on Sunday as people go see it with their family. The second weekend box office for this, I would probably put at around maybe $100 to $115 million. That's a very high estimate, I will admit. The lowest I would go, I would probably say around like 90 million, but it is most definitely going to hit that place again because the word of mouth on this film is actually surprisingly strong. right? It is surprisingly strong. A lot of people who live and operate in the YouTube space look at a lot of videos attacking the movie and they think that is going to be the general consensus. The truth of the matter is that's not the case. And I invite you to go and look at my review of the movie, my spoiler-free or spoiler review of the film, and read the comments. An overwhelming majority is from people saying, I loved the movie. I recommend going and watching a guy named Dave McCrae. He did a 34-minute video on the film that is pretty good. He tells you exactly why he loved it. And a lot of his audience liked it as well. People have been following me on Twitter, DMing me on Twitter, telling me how much they love it and how thankful they are that people are talking positively about Star Wars, and they feel like this healed the rift from The Last Jedi, and it's allowing them to be a fan again. And that is just like effing cool. I don't care who you are. That's just fun to hear, right? We got one more episode of The Mandalorian, obviously, but this is where we find ourselves. So anyway, let's go back into the Deadline article because I've kind of gotten all over the place here. So it says, partly responsible for the lower than anticipated numbers are last-minute seasonal distractions, as I said, which lead to softer pickup through the weekend, particularly in Europe where the force is typically strongest. The Euro markets are still the top markets of the season. However, Christmas is closer to Skywalker release than it was for The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. While France is in the throes of transport strikes that have wreaked havoc on travel plans this weekend, the critical scores have been rough in places, although the audience reaction is better. Overall, for moviegoers who felt burned by The Last Jedi, thinking this is the must rush out to see factor, or will not have been as key, which is true. And we are living in a bit of a different time. And I do kind of want to address that real quick. And I say that because we are living in a different time in regards to how we approach these films. With Disney Plus having just come out and knowing that like soon, I think next week, The Last Jedi gets on Disney Plus, then Solo's going to come not long afterward. And then we're going to get The Rise of Skywalker in March. People aren't maybe rushing out as much. There wasn't as much of an anticipated lead in to see this movie. It's not coming off of, Infinity War, where you had that massive, oh my God, ending, and then moving over and watching Endgame and having that be that buildup. I mean, Captain Marvel did very well off of a slingshot effect leading in to Endgame by about a 5 week, or about, was it like about an 8 week, 9 week lead somewhere in there. And then you had, what was it? Solo, when that came out last year, had to deal with the backlash from The Last Jedi, as well as being a Memorial Day weekend opening, which has traditionally been pretty terrible. It suffered in its own right. So we have to go back and look at those factors. It's not to say that there's fatigue or there's burnout. There are a lot of things that are working against the movie, believe it or not. And again, Christmas is a massive one of them, being so close to the holidays. People might just be holding off until their family is in town and they can go and see the movie. Star Wars has always been a familial affair. It always has been. If you go and you look at the movies, this is the end of the Skywalker saga, the Skywalker family. It's a family thing, right? I have family coming up from California that I'm going to go visit in a couple days, and the likelihood of us going and seeing this movie, which would put it at my third time, and I'm still planning on seeing it again with my dad in IMAX, I can see it as probably as many as 4 to 5 times in theaters before it ends its run, and I am in no way dreading that. Like, I would not go back to see The Last Jedi again, but damn, I will go see The Rise of Skywalker with anyone who wants to go see it, because I love the feeling of just geeking out over that movie, which is one of the reasons why I say it's a good time to be a Star Wars fan, and I'm going to be putting that into a video. But going back to the article here, it says, and China was also a slight drag on the overall opening with just a $12.1 million start versus what many saw as a potential $20 million. It's not a big surprise that the Middle Kingdom, which does not have a built-in traditional affinity for the franchise, did not warm to the latest exploits of Rey and Kylo Ren, as the films have seen diminishing returns since The Force Awakens in 2015. And then going on here to say that in keeping with Star Wars tradition, the UK was the lead market with 6.8 million, followed by Germany with 21.8, France's 15.2, Japan 14.6, and Australia 12.6. Japan was notably strong, coming in as the third best start for a Western title of 2019. And although Latin America doesn't typically over-index on Star Wars, Skywalker bowed ahead of The Last Jedi in nearly all markets across the region, including Brazil and Mexico. And we're at a point now where we really cannot ignore Brazil. Like, I mean that, like, especially if you are DC or Marvel, you cannot ignore Brazil. There is a large market there. And what we're seeing also on this particular situation in regards to American releases is that they put this movie only in 3,200 cinemas, right? Only on 3,200 screens, which to me was really, really, really odd, because both Captain Marvel and Endgame were in more than 4,200 screens. So why wasn't Star Wars in more screens? Perhaps they saw that there was going to be a bit of a limited, they were looking at the projections and it was coming in maybe a little bit lower. And as a result of that, they decided to scale it back a little bit. That could be the case as well. And they could also be playing the long game and waiting for the second week and third week to come in, because those are the last 2 weekends of the year. And as I said earlier, there's quite literally no other competition even worth a damn. Last year during Christmas time, you had Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Bumblebee, Mary Poppins, and Aquaman. And Aquaman was the key winner with over $1.1 billion, which took everyone by surprise considering its competition. I still say if Solo would have come out during that time, it would have been the predominant winner, even though I do like the other movies that were also out of that time frame. I love Into the Spider-Verse. I think that movie got robbed. Should not come out during the wintertime. Anyway, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker did not bomb. There are people out there that are going to try to argue that it did bomb. People out there, they're going to come out today and say that it bombed simply because of the fact that it came in a little lower than the other movies, which is, you know, I'm not going to say a valid argument because it's very hyperbolic. And the people are going to be referencing this as well, where the 57% of the tomato meter and the 86% on the audience score are definitely there. The tomato meter has been stuck at around 57%, although the other day it was up to 58%. Again, like I said earlier, I was hoping it was going to get to 60, get just right over the line to that fresh state, but I don't think that's going to happen unless the next like 100 critics come in and all give it a positive, which is going to maybe happen over the course of the next week. But again, probably not. The audience score, on the other hand, is definitely something that people are looking at, and they're using that as a way to judge the merits of the film. As I always say, take it with an absolute grain of salt. But I think what we can take away from it is this. The movie had like the third highest grossing December release of all time at $175 million. There's nothing there to scoff at. Did it have a little bit lower than projected opening in the United States and abroad? Absolutely. Is that because of The Last Jedi? Probably. Not that, you know, probably going to be having that. Some people have argued that the cinema score hurt the film with a B+, to which case I would counter Joker had a B+ as well, and that did over $1 billion. So let's be fair on that front. There's a lot of factors that go into this, and I do believe that a lot of it has to do with the holidays. Releasing it on the 20th is just too damn late. Releasing it on the 15th seems like the best way to get the excitement out before we get directly into the Christmas time. And even the 17th is cutting it a little bit closer, but releasing these movies with just a few days before Christmas on the last shopping weekend of the season, really, they kind of screwed themselves. They picked the date and it was a bad date to pick. They should have released it midweek on the 18th and then, you know, chalked up a solid 5-day number versus trying to get the opening weekend numbers, and it would have padded it a bit more in their favor, I think. But those are just, look, these are just my thoughts on it, all right? You can agree with me or you can disagree with me, and that's cool either way. I personally am very happy that this movie exists. I've seen it twice. I'm looking forward to seeing it a few more times. It's just a lot of fun to me. It's a lot of fun to talk about, a lot of fun to geek out about, and it's always cool to talk to people and listen to their theories about it. And I've been having some great conversations on Twitter, as well as my Discord, which there will be a little bumper that plays for that at the end of this video, as well as a link in the video description so you guys can jump on there. But anyway, I do want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your opinions. Have yourself a great day, guys, and may the force be with you. Peace out. Hey, thank you very much for watching the video. If you want to keep the conversation going, and if you made it this far, you clearly do, come on in and join the Discord. Link is in the video description. Can't wait to see you there. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.